Welcome back, ladies and gents, to our Formula 1 2019 end-of-season driver reviews. The sun has only just set over the 2019 season, but we've got a lot of drivers to get through in the build-up to Christmas, so if you're new around here, feel free to subscribe. A video every single day, kind of like an advent calendar, in the build-up to Christmas. And day number 3, our second driver, we're talking about Nico Hulkenberg. This is going to be a difficult one. This is going to be hard to hold back the tears. Nico, who's been in Formula 1 full-time since 2012, 2019 could be his final ever season in Formula 1, with Renault deciding to not keep him on for the 2020 season, replacing him with Esteban Ocon. Only time will tell if that's a worthy switch and it pays off for them. It's a bit of a gamble. Nico Hulkenberg, though, a man who last year, 2018, finished best of the rest, one of the drivers known for being Mr. Consistent. But 2019, I think it's fair to say, wasn't his best season in Formula 1. And that chance of an elusive podium, a first podium of his career, there was an opportunity. Only one, I would say, but there definitely was an opportunity. And poor old Nico, if only in that German Grand Prix he hadn't made that slight mistake out of the final 2 corners, beached it in the gravel, I think he would be remaining in that seat for next year. Anyway, lots to talk about with Nico Hulkenberg in 2019. Of course, coming into the season, big news that his teammate was going to be Daniel Ricciardo. What an incredible switch that was. Seems like only yesterday, and it still seems strange to me that we've had a whole season of Ricciardo in a Renault. We've had a whole season with Ricciardo without a victory. We'll talk about Ricciardo in another video, but how was Nico going to cope with this brand new pressure of someone who many would regard as a championship standard driver? And I think for the most part, we'll look at some statistics in a moment, I think he paired up quite well with Daniel Ricciardo. I think it's fair to say Daniel had the edge over the season, and considering Hulkenberg's been with the team now for 3 years, it probably left a little bit of a sour taste in the team's mouth. However, Hulkenberg, with his first real opportunity to prove himself up against a well-established driver, I think did well. And you look at his 2019 season, 10 points finishes, equal points with the likes of Danny Kvyat, only a few points behind Kimi Räikkönen. And when you consider the kind of seasons, or at least how people view the seasons of Kimi Räikkönen and Danny Kvyat, it seems a little bit harsh to be really critical of Nico's 2019. And I think a lot of Nico's issues this year has been an unpredictable car. And I will say this with Daniel Ricciardo's seasons as well. We had races, I think, and cast your minds back all the way to Baku, both cars out in Q1. This are a team that over the winter were targeting podiums, and yet it seems that every weekend we went to in 2019, the pace of that car just seemed to flip on its head. Consistency was a real pain, and looking at Hulkenberg's statistics, it wasn't the best end result for him. No wins, no poles, no podiums. That opportunity in Germany seems golden for Nico, but as I mentioned earlier, that tiny mistake cost him dear and could cost him his Formula 1 career. 37 points, the exact same as Danny Kvyat, a little bit behind his teammate. Nico finished 14th in the championship. His best qualifying was 6th, his best race was 5th, both of those coming at the Italian Grand Prix. The head-to-head battle, actually, looking at it in a little bit more detail, and probably looking at it before I did a bit of research, I didn't think it would be as close as it actually was. The quali battle is 14-7 to Ricciardo. The race battle is 9-8, and the 2 other missing Grand Prix there, they both retired in a couple of Grand Prix, but also they both were disqualified from the Japanese Grand Prix, and that's definitely not helped the points battle. Ricciardo on 54, Hulkenberg on 37. Ricciardo finishing in the top 10, Hulkenberg down in P14. But despite the giant gap, you could argue, in positions in the championship, I think the midfield was just ridiculously tight this year. You look at the points gap between, as I mentioned, Hulkenberg down in 14th on 37 points, Kimi Räikkönen in 12th, 43, Lando Norris in 11th, 49, Perez 10th, 52. Very easily, Hulkenberg, who had 3 retirements over the season, including that disqualification in Japan, that could look so different, and what a completely different picture we'd be talking about. Don't forget races like last time out, his last race potentially in Abu Dhabi. He was on for points, strategy didn't go their way, and ultimately he ended up with no points. But just the midfield was just so close in 2019. I do feel for Nico just a little bit. Highlights in 2019, unfortunately, there's not many. As I said earlier, the car was inconsistent, and when he did score big points, a little bit like Monza, which you would say probably was his best weekend over the year, qualified 6th, finished 5th, Daniel Ricciardo qualified 1 place in front and finished the race in 4th. So actually was a little bit overshadowed, was Nico, in that particular weekend. And I think that's definitely a theme throughout 2019, is that feeling of being overshadowed by Daniel Ricciardo. Even though Hulkenberg got those 10 points finishes over the year, which I think is very respectable, Ricciardo always just seemed to do that one thing a little bit better, and Renault ultimately have decided to back Ricciardo, which you can understand in the long term, and bringing in Ocon as well, definitely they're thinking in the long term. Low lights has to be Germany. I'd even throw in Bahrain on those final 2 laps, both Renaults going out retiring at the end of the race. That was a painful one, but Germany, his home Grand Prix. He's spoken in length how he had goosebumps on the grid with the German flag, all the fans in the grandstands holding up the signs, and blimey, so close yet so far. It's been an okay year for Hulkenberg. I think he's definitely a little bit underrated in 2019, so I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10, but this is definitely one I think people will have different opinions on, so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And also, do you believe this is Hulkenberg's last ever season? I think we'll see him back on the grid. I definitely think he deserves it. If you want to keep up to date with all of the Formula 1 news and goodness over the winter, giving you that bit of Formula 1 fix, then feel free to subscribe if you are new. Also, just a heads up, I'll give you a little bit of a teaser who tomorrow's video is over on Instagram. That's the only way you can find out. It's completely randomised who each driver is each day. So if you're interested about that, feel free to follow me on Instagram. Shameless plug, I am sorry. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one.